Welcome everyone. Welcome to another episode of Thought Leadership Series. I am your host, Kalpesh Shah, Global Client Partner at Verdantis. Today, we are diving into a topic that is reshaping the future of maintenance operations. How AI agents are revolutionizing the way organizations manage maintenance operation data. In asset intensive industry, structured and intelligent data is no longer a nice to have. It's the foundation for operational reliability, cost control, and digital transformation. Today, I'm joined by Jose Bobrek, a veteran in the field of enterprise data strategy, who can shed light on how enterprises can equip themselves with high quality, reliable, and standardized data. With nearly 2 decades of experience in master data operations and governance and driving industrial data transformations, Jose brings a wealth of insights into the practical side of modernizing maintenance data using AI. So, before we jump in, we'll explore why maintenance operations data has become so critical today, how AI agents differ from traditional rule based tools, and what practical changes this brings to plant managers, engineers, and data leaders. So, Jose, welcome to the series. Let's start with your journey. So, you have spent nearly 2 decades working with enterprise data across industries like Albemarle or Florida Crystals. So, what led you into this field? Was there a defining moment or experience that set you on the path toward mastering data for operations and maintenance?
Thank you, Kaplesh. Good morning, everyone. I started my career in operations and engineering, but early on, I saw how bad data quality it was getting in my way, causing delays, mistakes, and a lot of frustration. And that frustration is what sparked my interest in mastering data. Then in the early 2000s, I was working for a large company that decided to replace its old systems into something called SAP, which back then wasn't as widely known as today, of course. They needed someone to take charge of data quality and standardization for the transition. So I raised my hand and I took the opportunity. I became the master data controller. And that role, it changed everything for me. Since then, I've become like fully committed to the data space, especially helping operations and plant maintenance to run smoother through better data quality.
Oh, great. So, you have clearly been at the heart of data transformation. So, beyond solving business problems, what motivates you personally about working with data, especially in the maintenance space?
What really motivates me is seeing a real world impact. I love solving problems. For example, when good data, it helps a technician to quickly find the right part and avoid downtime. That's not just data, it's keeping operations running. Or when a reliability engineer, they can easily update their bill of materials without having to dig through messy records. That's a win. These are small things that make a big difference, and knowing that the work that I do with data, it helps people in plant maintenance to do their job better. That's what keeps me going every day.
Great. So, I think that really shows how deeply connected you are on the mission of data. Uh, so, Jose, after leading master data efforts across continents, was there ever a data surprise on the ground that changed how you thought about data management for manufacturing organizations?
Absolutely. One time at a plant, we discovered over 10 different entries, 10 different material numbers for exactly the same motor. And each one
Mhm.
had a slightly different name description, but it was the same motor. So that was a wake-up call. It showed how duplicate data, it can quietly build up and lead to very costly inefficiencies like overstocking and delay repairs. In another case, we found materials labeled as miscellaneous or do not use. Yet, at looking at the transaction history, I noticed that they were still actively being ordered. That made me realize how much poor naming and classifications it can confuse users and waste a lot of money. And then there was a global site where two plants they were buying the same item from different suppliers at a different
Mm,
price just
mm.
because the part it wasn't harmonized. That's when I saw how disconnected data across locations it affects sourcing, spend, and overall strategy. So these experiences it changed how I look at data. It's not just a technical task, but it's a powerful way to improve operations, cut waste, and bring teams together.
Oh, that's incredible. That's incredible. So, was there a turning point when you realized AI wasn't just a hype, but could truly shift how we manage maintenance operation data?
Yes, there was definitely a turning point. During some of the large ERP modernization projects that I led, we had teams of subject matter experts spending countless hours trying to classify spare parts and operating supplies. But no matter how skilled they were, maintaining this consistency across thousands of records, it was incredible hard. Even the best subject matter experts, they miss. One day they classify something as synthetic oil, and a week later, the same item as compressor oil. There's
Mm.
not a right or wrong answer, but it's all about consistency, and it's very hard for humans that aren't built for this kind of repetitive work. So when I was first introduced to AI using the Verdantis harmonized platform for classification, and I saw that 80% accuracy right out of the gate, that was a moment for clarity for me.
Oh,
I
great.
We had hundreds of thousands of records that traditionally it would take me months and an army of people. And when a Verdantis AI, when they ingested all of these records, and it just in a couple of hours, it classified all of them with an 80% accuracy. Now you may ask, Jose, how did you know it was an 80% accuracy? Well, I did some statistical testing. I got a little bit of electrical parts, a little bit of mechanical parts, instrumentation, and so on. And over weeks, I validate, and I confirm this accuracy, and it was incredible. So that's where AI wasn't just a buzzword; it was a real solution. Another moment it came when AI it helped to detect, and clean duplicate materials across different plants. What used to take weeks of manual review was suddenly getting done just in hours. So, with clear and actionable insights. That's when I realized that AI it can truly transform how we manage operations data, not just faster but smarter.
Great. In fact, that perspective is certainly very valuable for the teams. So many organizations still rely on legacy maintenance systems. So how do you approach bridging the gap between old infrastructure and modern AI-driven tools?
I understand some organizations they cannot go through a big ERP S for HANA, but my approach would be always to start small with a proof of concept. Start small and stay practical. You don't need to overhaul your everything at once, right? So pick a pain point. For example, duplicate spare parts, and apply AI like harmonize from Verdantis just to clean that area, right? It's manageable, it's low risk, it delivers quick results, it is visible. So once people they see the impact, reduce inventory, fewer errors, and faster work orders, they become much more open to broader changes. For example, at one site we started with a small pilot focused on identifying and resolving duplicates for bearings, just bearings, very, very small and simple. And in a few weeks, we flagged over 300 duplicate bearings, and we identified others that they were equivalent and interchangeable. So we cleaned them up, we updated the records, and immediately we saw reduced purchasing errors. We found more transparent work orders, and that one success story, it opened the door for applying AI to classify materials, optimize descriptions, and even identify and flag obsolete items. So bridging the gap isn't about forcing big changes, it's about showing how modern tools it can make a legacy systems smarter, one step at a time.
Great. I think it's really encouraging to hear that modernization doesn't always mean ripping everything out. It can be incremental and strategic. So, in your experience, Jose, what are the most effective ways to measure the success of data management initiative as far as manufacturing or production data is concerned? And what KPIs actually matter?
Okay, great data should make life easier, not just look good on a beautiful dashboard. So I measure success by impact. For example, are technicians finding their spare parts faster? Are planners spending less time with their orders? Are reliability engineers, are they updating their bill of materials in a more efficient way? Is inventory shrinking without affecting uptime? Sure, I can track data quality scorecards, I can track duplicate reduction or classification accuracy, but the KPIs that really matter are the ones that keep the plant moving. Fewer stockouts, shorter maintenance delays, smarter buying. When good data shows up in daily operations, that's what I call success.
Great. I like how those KPIs tie to data health directly to business performance. Actually closes the loop. So traditionally, data governance has been an afterthought. How does AI bring data governance into the workflow through real-time validations, anomaly detections, and policy enforcement?
Very good. How AI brings governance into the workflow. I've been building platforms for 20 years, and before AI, we rely on basic checks like require fields, drop down validations, or fixed derivation rules. They were very useful, but limited. Now, AI brings governance into the workflow in smarter ways through real time checks and learning based validations. Let me give you an example. During a MRO material creation, AI can instantly flag if a spec sheet is missing for a pump or if the description doesn't match the classification. This is not just a traditional validation, this is intelligent assistant at the moment. Somebody asked me, wait a minute, Jose, I am using my 20-year-old workflow for MRO processing, and it doesn't have any AI. And it can tell me if somebody wants to create a pump and they fail to attach the specification sheet, they will not be able to move forward in the workflow. But with these legacy systems, if you attach the picture of Mickey Mouse and you click submit, the workflow will allow you to move forward. With AI, it can recognize not only that there is an attachment, but the attachment is for specifications for the pump that you're trying to create. And not only that, AI can say, well, all the other 300 pumps that you have in the system, they must have the flow rate and the pressure rating, and this specification sheet is missing. So even though you put the attachment, it's going to give you a warning. So this is a very good way of This is not validation, but this is intelligent assistant. And another example is when someone tries to create a new bearing, for example, AI, it can detect nearly identical items that already exist in the system, preventing duplications right at the source. And even it learns from patterns over time, suggesting new rules that we humans, we miss it. So like flagging unusual supplier choices or inconsistent units of measures. So this shift from fixing bad data later to preventing it upfront is where AI really transforms governance from an afterthought to a built-in advantage.
Great. I think you have made a great case for why governance can be a competitive advantage when done correctly. So Jose, how can enriched maintenance data support functions outside of operations like procurement, sustainability, or finance?
And rich data is very important. For example, for procurement, it means cleaner, standardized part descriptions. So they can consolidate suppliers, strategic sourcing, they can negotiate better pricing, and they can avoid buying duplicates. They can avoid buying the same thing from different suppliers at different prices. For sustainability, it helps to identify obsolete or rarely used items. It enables smarter inventory management. It reduces waste, both in materials and energy usage. What is obsolete in one plant, it may be a solution in another. Typically, from my experience, they run some reports and those things that are not flagged as critical items, but they have no slow movement, they give it away as scrap. But if you have enriched data, you can actually monetize your garbage. Could be somebody else's treasure, right? And for finance, data enrichment is very important because accurate material data is directly to better asset valuation, cost tracking, and budgeting. When you know what you have, how often it's used, and where it sits, you can make much better financial decisions. So while data starts in maintenance, its value flows everywhere.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great reminder that a good maintenance data doesn't just stay on the plant floor, it empowers the entire business. Jose, you have spoken about embedding governance into the workflow. So, how do you ensure it scales across complex multi plant environments?
Scaling governance is critical. Scaling governance across multiple plants, even across different regions of the world, it comes down to two things. Number one, consistency. Number two, collaboration. First, you need to centralize a set of data standards and rules so everyone is playing from the same sheet of music. But just as important as having those global rules and standards, you need to embed those rules into the tools and workflows that people use every day. That's where AI helps by making governance not feel just part of the process, but it's not giving you extra work. So, secondly, you need to bring people in. You have to empower the local subject matter experts to own quality at their site and create these feedback loops so the system it learns and improves. So at scale, governance is not just enforced, governance is adopt.
Great. I think it's reassuring to hear that governance doesn't have to slow down things even across the global sites. Jose, how do you navigate the balance between standardizing the maintenance data globally while adapting to a local site realities and languages?
Very good question. Having worked in huge global projects with plants in South America, Asia Pacific, Europe, North America. So it's all about finding the sweet spot between global consistency and local relevance. First, we set global standards for naming, classification, and attributes. That's the true foundation, right? And then we have to give room for local context like language, units of measures, and some region specific materials. AI helps bridge that gap by translating and mapping those local terms into global standards in real time. The key is collaboration. We work closely with local teams so they feel heard and they can shape the standards. That way, it's not a top down mandate, it's a shared system that works globally, but it makes sense locally.
Oh, great. It shows that standardization isn't about control, it's about clarity. Okay, so how do you evaluate whether a particular AI agent or a solution is fit for purpose for an asset intensive organization's data management requirements?
A very good question. So, how do I evaluate if an AI solution is fit for the purpose? I always start with three questions. Number one, does the AI system understand MRO, maintenance, repair, and overhaul? Number two, can it scale? And number three, can it be integrated into real workflows? So a good AI solution, it needs not just to sound smart, it has to recognize how maintenance data works in the real world. We have complex hierarchies, we have similar sounding items, and thousands of legacy records. So I test with real data, not just demos. Next, we look at how well it handles volume. Can it process millions of records and still deliver consistent results? And finally, does the AI solution, does that integrate? Can you embed it into the way how people actually work through SAP, MDG, CRMs, or PLM systems? So you don't want AI just to run in the background, right? You want this to be embedded into your solutions. If it passes these three, then AI it's fit for the purpose.
Great. I think it's clear you have basically you are evaluating the tools not just for capability but for compatibility with the business context. So that's great. So Jose, just maybe at the end, probably would like to understand, like across your career, is there a project or milestone that stands out not just for its business impact but for the journey it represented?
Oh, absolutely. One that really stands out is a recent global MRO data harmonization project that I led across 20 sites across the world. On paper, it was just about cleaning and standardizing material records and then implementing a workflow. But the real story was the journey, building trust across cultures, aligning teams that never worked together before, and turning skepticism into momentum. It wasn't easy. There were language barriers, system mismatches. There was plenty of pushback, but we stuck in. And at the end, we didn't just improve data, we transformed how teams collaborated across different plants. Seeing how local subject matter experts they became the champions of data, and watching operations how it became more efficient by every site. That kind of impact that's what stays with you. So it reminds me how great data isn't just something technical but is also deeply human.
Great. I think that's powerful. So Jose, before we wrap up, just let's end on a lighter, or I would say more personal note, to get to know the person behind the data expertise. Jose, what's your personal habit or a daily routine that keeps you sharp and focused, especially when juggling with complex projects?
For me, It's all about starting your day with intention. So every morning before the meetings and the emails hit, I spent 15 quiet minutes reviewing my top three priorities, not tasks, priorities. So it helps me to keep focus and with what really matters, not just things that are urgent, but things that are important. So I also built this habit of doing this daily and like a tech-free walks with no phone, no distractions. That's where my best ideas that's when I can solve the trickiest of the problems and keeps me thinking clearly, and especially when leading complex, fast-moving plant maintenance projects.
Great, great, fantastic. I love it. Probably I'll also start following the same from tomorrow and hopefully try to solve some complex issues. Uh, so, Jose, you have worked across different cultures and regions. So, what's one thing you have learned from working globally that's shaped you or shaped your leadership style?
One big lesson I learned is listen first and lead second. Working across cultures, it taught me to that solutions, they are never one size fits all. What works in one region, it may completely miss the mark in another. So I've learned to ask more questions, slow down, and really understand the local context before pushing for a change. That shaped my leadership style into something more inclusive, more patient, and definitely more effective.
Oh, it's amazing. So how it's amazing to know that how much listening and adapting can strengthen trust across different teams and cultures. So if you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of career advice, what would it be?
I would tell my younger self, don't wait to speak up. Early in my career, I often held back, thinking that I have to be an expert before I can add value. But what I've learned is that a fresh perspective, curiosity, and thoughtful questions, they are very powerful. So speak up, stay curious, do not underestimate the impact that you can have, even if you are still in the process of learning.
I think that perspective speaks volumes. So, Jose, is there a non-work passion, maybe like a music or a travel or a sports, that helps you reset and gain perspective when work gets intense?
One thing that especially I'm proud of is about 3 years ago, starting yoga and meditation
Mhm.
and sticking with it, because sometimes you start something and then so
Yeah.
I've been consistent now for a little bit more than 3 years. It became a real anchor for me. It's not just about physical strength and flexibility. It helped me to build mental clarity and stay grounded, especially when work gets very intense.
Absolutely. I think that is the key behind your energy and creativity. Yeah, so just last one more question. Jose, like what is the one value or principle you try to carry with you into every team or project you lead?
One principle I carry into every team and every project is to leave things better than you found them, especially with people. That means investing in relationships, sharing knowledge, and creating space for others to grow. Tools and systems, they change, but the impact that you leave on people, it lasts much longer. So I try to lead in ways that it builds trust, confidence, and even after the project ends, it keeps the teams stronger.
Great. I think that is such an essential leadership quality. So, Jose, thank you for joining us and sharing not just your deep technical knowledge, but the real world experiences behind it. Your insights offer a grounded, practical lens on how AI is helping organizations optimize maintenance, operations, data management, and why this matters more than ever. And to our listeners, if you found this episode valuable, don't forget to share, follow, and stay tuned for more expert conversations on Thought Leadership Series. So, Jose, thank you very much. I think we have just finished on time. So, once again, thank you and appreciate your responses. Thank you.